Hey everyone, I wanted to share a story about a lady who totally changed my perspective on what it means to live well. It's my great aunt Mamie, and I met her when she was 96, about a month from turning 97. I was at a pretty dark time in my life, and she had been in a nursing home for 4 years. She was legally blind, had a pacemaker, and had just been diagnosed the weekend before with terminal cancer and given a month to live. I went to meet up with her because I was really interested in family history, and my dad says she was definitely the one to talk to. She knew all the genealogy, all the funny stories, even how my grandparents met. I think she might have been involved with that. And so I went into her room that day, the nursing home, with maybe a few expectations. In fact, I expected her to be grumpy and depressed, maybe angry, maybe hopeless. Because I know I would definitely feel that way if I were in her situation. But instead, I spent the next 90 minutes laughing with her telling jokes and old family stories. And I walked out of that room thinking to myself, who is this lady? I don't get it. Like, it must be a fluke, because how can anyone be so happy and joyful in the midst of having a terminal disease and having lived in a nursing home for 4 years? Because let me tell you, they're not exactly the most, what shall we say, easy places to live. And I thought maybe it was a fluke, but I went back to see her again and again over the next several weeks, and it was always the same. She always had funny stories to tell, and she always made me laugh more than I made her laugh. At one point during our visit, she said that when she was 88 years old and in the hospital, she got bored, so she decided to write her autobiography. And I thought to myself, I've got to read that, because that's got to have the answer. Like, surely something happened in her life. She won the lottery. She went on some amazing trip to Europe. Like, something must have caused her to have all this joy at the end of life. But when she passed away a few weeks later, and I finally got a chance to read it, when my dad gave me a copy of it, I realized that wasn't the case at all. In fact, she'd seen a lot of death by the age of 15. Shortly after she and her husband got married, they lost their home and their business due to a fire and had to move in with their in-laws, which I'm sure everyone has a dream of moving in with their in-laws after they are newly married. She'd had 2 sons die and her husband before her. But that didn't seem to matter. Because she seemed to incorporate all of these events into her life story. She didn't let the circumstances around her shape who she was. She used those circumstances to shape her life story. And it totally changed my life. Because up until then, I thought having a successful, meaningful life meant hitting certain benchmarks. My weight had to be a certain value. My blood pressure had to be a certain value. I had to not have certain types of diseases. I had to have a job with a certain income to be successful and be married or with a family by a certain age. And if I hit all those benchmarks, then life would be good. And only then would life be good. But Great Aunt Mamie showed me, no, you don't have to have any of that. She never went on any amazing trips to Europe. She never went to college. In fact, she spent most of her life in rural Tennessee. She managed to live a pretty amazing, fine life. Because she knew what was important, is to create your life and to have the skills to write the story of life that you want. So I wanted to share that story with you to say that to live well, to have a meaningful, enjoyable life doesn't mean you have to hit certain benchmarks. But it does mean you have to be in control of your life story and that you can be in control of it. So we can't choose our circumstances. We can't choose what happens to us in life. And at the end of it all, we may find ourselves in a nursing home for 4 years and blind with terminal cancer. But hopefully, like Great Aunt Mamie, we will still have the spirit and the purpose to make whatever we can out of that in a way that brings joy to ourselves and others. So thanks for letting me share that story with you all. You can find me at www.livelovedwell.com. You can also find me on Facebook at Live Love Dwell. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, whatever time of day it may be, and I will see you next time.